Good morning, students. This is part 3 of chapter 13. The chapter 13 is Why Do We Fall Ill? Already two parts of the chapter we have discussed, and this is part 3. So, now let me tell you what we are going to discuss in this part of the chapter. We'll discuss the topic infectious diseases. And inside this topic, there are two subtopics, that is, infectious agents and means of spread. So, these two subtopics we will discuss. So, let me start here. The first topic is infectious agents. What are infectious agents? Agent means that carries. So the organism that carries diseases are known as infectious agents, and they found everywhere. And there are wide range of infectious agents. So some of them are viruses. Yes, viruses are infectious agents. Virus can carry infection. Then the bacteria. Bacteria is also another infectious agent. Then fungi, then protozoa, and then some multicellular organism like worms. So these all are the infectious agents, or you can say infectious carriers. They carries the infection, and they are the reason of infectious diseases. Common examples of the diseases caused by these infectious agents by viruses: common cold, influenza, dengue fever, and AIDS. These all are the diseases, and the reason behind that is virus. Virus is the disease carrier. Okay. Typhoid fever, cholera, tuberculosis, and anthrax. These diseases they occur by bacteria. And fungi is the main reason of skin infections. Protozoa, that is well known, malaria and kala jar. These two diseases are due to the microorganism that is known as protozoa. And by worm, intestinal infections and elephantiasis. Elephantiasis is an disease, and that is the abnormal enlargement of an area of the body part. Here you can see in the picture, that is the picture of the person who is suffering from elephantiasis. And why it is important that we think the categories of infectious agent. See, infectious agent means, as I told you, there are so many: virus, bacteria, fungi, worms. So why do we study them in categories? Why can't we study them in all together? So what is the reason and what is the importance of them? Yes, it is very important. Why? Because they all have different characters. Okay, and to cure all these diseases, we should have different medicines or different treatments. That is why we study them in categories. We do not study them in all together. Okay, here is the answer. The categories are important factors in deciding what kind of treatment to use to cure this disease. If there is this disease due to bacteria and another disease is due to virus, both the diseases cannot be treated by the same manner or by the same treatment. That is why it is important uh, uh, to study the categories of infectious agents. Okay. Member of each one of these groups, see, for example, virus, bacteria, worms, and fungi, they have many biological characteristics in common, and many characteristics are different in all these groups. That is why we study all these groups in different categories. See, all the viruses, they live inside the host cell. Host cell means जो बीमार होता है उसके सेल के अंदर जाकर वायरस रहता है, जबकि बैक्टीरिया ऐसा नहीं करते हैं. So this character is different in bacteria and viruses. Okay, but the one thing is very common कि virus, bacteria and fungi, they all multiply very quickly. On the other hand, worms multiply very slowly. So some characteristic all the microorganisms have in common and some are different. Taxonomically, all the bacteria are closely related to each other in the comparison of virus and vice versa. Taxonomy means that is the science of the naming of the organisms. So what does it say? It says that all the bacteria are closely related to each other than to virus and vice versa. Vice versa means अगर हम इसका उल्टा बोलते हैं तो. What does it mean? It means that many important life processes are similar in the bacteria group, but they are not shared with this virus group. Inside the group of bacteria, it is very common, but if we are discussing about virus, it is not same. So in bacteria and in virus, the things are different, and we need different treatments to cure the disease occurred by bacteria or by virus. See, as they are different, so we need different drugs to cure the diseases by bacteria and virus. Here we will discuss the drug that block one of these life process in one member of the group is likely to be the effective against many other member of the group. Okay, एक ही group में if we are having a drug that can cure the disease occurred by one member of the group, so that can be effective for other members also. Sometime it is possible also, and sometime it may not be. Okay, so some drugs they will work against microbe belonging to a different group also, and some drugs they will not work. So after the study, after the laboratory test only, we will come to know that due to which reason the disease is there and what is the particular treatment for that. Sometimes we can use the same treatment for more than one diseases, and sometimes we cannot. For example, we can take, let us take the example of antibiotics. Okay, so antibiotics usually क्या करते हैं? They block the biochemical pathways that is important for the bacteria. Okay, and what is that biochemical pathway? See, bacteria क्या करते हैं? They make a cell wall to protect themselves. और antibiotic क्या करते हैं? Antibiotic like penicillin, they block the bacterial process, means they cannot build the cell wall. और उससे क्या होगा कि जो बैक्टीरिया है it will die easily. Okay, so ये काम हुआ antibiotics का. अब जो ह्यूमन सेल है दे डू नॉट मेक ए सेल वॉल एनीवे. तो अगर पेंसिलिन प्रोसेस को खत्म करेगा कि बैक्टीरिया विल नॉट बी एबल टू क्रिएट अ सेल वॉल, तो इट विल नॉट इफेक्ट ऑन ह्यूमन सेल. व्हाई? बिकॉज ह्यूमन डज नॉट मेक सेल वॉल. Okay, so penicillin cannot have such effect on us. Penicillin will have an effect only on bacteria, and due to the effect of the penicillin, bacteria will die. Okay, and similarly, many antibiotics work against many species of bacteria rather than simply working against one. If we are using one medicine against one bacteria, it can be used for another bacteria also. Why? Because many bacteria have same characteristic. If they are not having same characteristic, then we need different medicines for different bacteria. Okay. Now viruses do not have such these same pathways at all. And this is the reason antibiotics do not work against viral infection. If there is a question ki why antibiotics cannot be used for viral infections, you can say that antibiotics are effective only for bacterial infection. Why? Because the working process of bacteria and virus is different. So that is why antibiotics they do not work on viruses. See, if we have common cold and taking antibiotics does not reduce the severity of the duration of the disease, it means that is not the proper medicine for the common cold. Why? Because common cold, the reason for common cold is virus, not the bacteria. So if we are taking antibiotic, it will not affect anyhow. We need to take a medicine who can work on viruses. Then only get we will get the better condition of our body. Antibiotics they will not work on the viruses. Okay. If we have a bacterial infection along with viral cold, then only antibiotics will help, otherwise not. See, if we are having a problem due to virus and due to bacteria, both together, and if we are taking antibiotics, so at that time antibiotic will work only and only against the bacterial part of the infection. They will not work against the viral part of the infection. So if we want to cure the viral part of the infection, then we should take another medicine that will work on the viruses. Fine. Here is the activity that is given in your book. What is the activity? Let me read it for you. Find out how many of you in your class had cold, cough and fever recently, and how long did the illness last. how many of you took antibiotics? Okay, you may not be knowing about that. So you can ask your parents if you had antibiotics or not. Now the question is, how long were those who took antibiotics ill and how long were those who did not take antibiotics ill? Is there a difference between these two? Yes. If yes, why? If not, why? Okay. Now the first thing is, how many of you in your class had cold, cough, fever and dysentery? Nowadays you are not going to the class. Okay. So this activity also you can shift from class to your family members, your friends, families or your relatives. How many of you in your family or in your friend groups had cough, cold and fever recently? And then you can ask your friends or your family members that how long did it last, for 2 3 days or more than 2 3 days. And then you can ask them whether they go for whether they went for antibiotic or not. If yes, then how much time did they take for cure, and if not, then how long were they took for cure. So here I think you need help of your parents. You can ask your parent, and that is a very common questions. In this season people may suffer from cough and cold and fever also. So this activity you can do. It is interesting. Now we'll come to the next topic, that is means of spread. See, how do infectious disease spread? Infectious disease spread by infection. If we come in contact by other person who is already sick, we can also get sick. So that is infectious disease. Many microbial agents, they can move from one affected person to someone else in variety of ways. And what are these ways? See, these ways we will discuss in coming slides. But let me tell you, these diseases can be called communicated. Why communicated? Because these are communicable. These can be spread from one person to another. That is why they are communicable. They can be communicated from one person to another. Okay. So here are the list of communicable diseases: cholera, typhoid, hepatitis, or you call it jaundice also, influenza, TB, malaria, tetanus. So these all are communicable diseases, and here it is also given how do they spread. Cholera spread by dirty food and water. Typhoid is again dirty water and food. Jaundice is also unclean water, by unclean water. Influenza by air. TB by air. Malaria is spread by mosquito. And tetanus is spread by biting wound exposed to the dust or rusted item. At that time tetanus spread. Okay. So the first one is the diseases that spread by air. So the diseases that is spread by air is called airborne disease. And this disease occurs through little droplets thrown out by an infected person who sneezes or coughs. Sometimes standing close by that person can breathe in those droplets in, and those microbes can get a chance to start a new infection. Okay. So when some person is sneezing in the air, what happens? The tiny particles they produced by sneezing or by talking or by coughing, they are suspended in the air for a long time and they travel. And if we come in contact with those particles, they will enter our body and we also fall sick. So that is airborne disease. Okay, so airborne diseases are common cold, pneumonia, and TB. These are airborne diseases. Okay. See, we all have had the experience of sitting near someone who is suffering from a cold and catching it ourselves. Obviously, the more crowded and our living conditions are, the more likely it is that the airborne diseases will spread. The second thing is by water. Yes, by water, if we drink unclean water or dirty water, we may fall sick. And the diseases they spread through water are called waterborne. And these occurs if the excreta from someone suffering from an infectious gut disease, such as cholera, that get mixed with the drinking water, and that water is used by the people living by. At that time this type of disease can be spread. The cholera causing microbes will enter the healthy person through that unclean water, and they will drink that water and that cause disease in them. So these are the disease spread by water. These type of disease more likely to spread in the absence of safe supply. If municipality is not supplying clean water, at that time also people can get sick by the diseases that spread by water. We are not getting dirty clean water, then also we can fall sick. Now the next thing is by sexual contact. That is also a reason when two people come in close contact, physical contact, and if one is suffering by any disease, another one can also be suffered by this disease. And these diseases are AIDS or syphilis. These are transmitted by sexual contact from one partner to the another one. Such diseases are not spread by simple physical contact. Okay. See, if two people they are only simply shaking hands, the disease will not spread. Okay, if they are hugging each other, they are playing sports, at that time this type of diseases will not spread. If blood of any sick person is transmitted to another person, at that time there are chances to spread these type of diseases. Okay, here see it is written. Other than the sexual contact, the virus causing AIDS can also spread through blood to blood contact. Yes, with infected people or from an infected mother to her child also. During pregnancy also these type of diseases can be transmitted from mother to the child, and or while breastfeeding, at that time also these type of diseases can be transferred from mother to the child. Okay, and now the next one is by animals. See, many diseases can be transmitted by the animals. These animals carry the infecting agents from a sick person to the another person who is healthy. And these animals are thus the intermediaries and they are called vectors. And these type of diseases are called vector-borne disease also. See, the commonest vector we all know are mosquitoes. In many species of mosquitoes, the female need highly nutritious food. Food means in the form of blood. Mosquitoes का blood होता है, food होता है blood, and they need this food in the form of blood. And see, if they are getting the good blood, good amount of the blood, then only they will be able to they lay mature eggs. If they are not getting good blood, they will not be able to lay mature eggs. Okay, so to get blood, what do? They feed on many warm blood animals like us. Okay, and they can transfer disease from one person to the another person. If any mosquito is biting a person who is suffering from a disease, the mosquito will suck the blood of the infected person and it will transfer to the another one. Okay, so this that is how animals are the disease carrier. Okay, here's the picture that shows the common methods of transmission of diseases. You can say by animal, by mosquitoes, by food or unclean water, sometimes by direct contact, by air, direct contact. So the all are the methods of transmission of diseases. See, here is a topic given in your book. Actually, these are for extra information also, but I liked it very much. That is why I kept it over here. It is about the peptic ulcer. See, in earlier time, people used to think that peptic ulcer जो पेट में होता है, that causes acidity or sometimes pain also, and sometimes bleeding also inside the stomach and duodenum. That is due to the lifestyle or the different reasons. And people used to think that a stressful life led to a lot of acid secretion in the stomach, and eventually that caused peptic ulcer. But then what happened to Australian citizens? They made a discovery that a bacterium called Helicobacter pylori, it was responsible for peptic ulcer. Okay, Robin Warren, who was a pathologist from Perth in Australia, he saw that these small cow bacteria in the lower part of the stomach in many patients, and then he noticed that sign of inflammation were always present around these bacteria. Okay, so he was one out of the team, and the second one was Barry Marshall. He was a young clinical fellow. He became interested in Warren findings and he succeeded in the cultivating the bacteria from these sources. And in the studies of treatment, Marshall and Warren, They showed that patient could be cured of peptic ulcer only when the bacteria were killed off from the stomach. So we are very much thankful to the discovery by Marshall and Warren. उसके बाद क्या हुआ कि peptic ulcer could be removed by surgery or by the treatment of bacteria. So peptic ulcer disease is no longer a chronic now. Otherwise, earlier it was a chronic and it could lead to the death also. ठीक है? But these were two people who found that this occurs due to the bacteria. And if these bacteria could be killed, so the disease can be removed. Okay. So earlier it was considered a chronic disease, but now after the discovery of these two scientists, it become a acute disease and it could be removed in short period of the time. Okay. Now for their this achievement, Marshall and Warren, they received the Nobel Prize in 2005 for medicine. So this was very important to tell to you. That is why I discussed these things over here. Okay. Now here are some pictures that I have taken from your book. This picture is of SARS, S-A-R-S. Okay, that is a type of virus that is coming out of the surface of an infected cell. The white scale line, this one, this represents 500 nanometers. And nanometers is a unit of length. It is a very small unit. Very small lengths can be measured in nanometers. And how much it is, can you imagine? It is half of a micrometer. See, micrometer itself, it is a small unit. On the other hand, the half of micrometer, and that is nanometer. Okay, it is 1,000th of a millimeter. If a millimeter is divided by 1,000, then we will get 1 nanometer. Okay, and the picture are taken from Emerging Infectious Disease, a journal of CDS, US. And this picture is of a bacteria, picture of Staphylococcus bacteria. That can also be a reason of the disease, and it is indicated in the line of the top. Here it is, and that is 5 micrometer long. See, you can see these microbes are very small. We cannot see them with our naked eyes. All these pictures are taken from the microscope. This is the third picture, and that is the picture of a protozoa, Trypanosoma, that is the protozoa organism, and that is responsible for sleeping sickness. The organism is lying next to a saucer-shaped red blood cell. See, here you can see the red blood cell, and this is the protozoa, this one. Okay, and here is the colored picture of this, and here is the actual picture of presence of these protozoa in our blood. This one. See, these are the red blood cells, and these are the protozoa present in our blood. So this microorganism can produce a sleeping disorder in our body. And here is the picture of another protozoa, and this protozoa is responsible for a fever called Kala Jar. Okay, and this protozoa is oval shaped. Here you can see the shape. This is oval shaped, and each one has a long whip like structure. This is thread like structure. Okay, and this here what happens, one organism is dividing while a cell of immune system has gripped on two whips of the dividing organism and is sending cell processes up to eat up the organism. Okay, and the immune cell is about 10 micrometers in the diameter. See, all these microbes are very small. Here is the picture of an roundworm. This roundworm is found in small intestine, and the size of the roundworm is in centimeters, and this can be seen with naked eyes. So this was your part 3 of chapter 30, that is why do we fall ill. Now we'll meet in part 4. By then you can read the chapter. If you think you are not able to understand any particular topic, you can call me or you can message me. Okay, So thank you students. Now we'll meet in part 4.